Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm delighted to have you here today. Today's presentation is about vendor qualification and audits. I'm Dr. S.K. Singh, and I'll be guiding you through this session. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore the key aspects of how to effectively qualify vendors and conduct audits to ensure quality and compliance. So, let's get started and make this a productive discussion. Today, we'll be focusing on the key objectives that guide our approach to vendor qualification and audits in the pharmaceutical industry. First, it's crucial to understand the regulatory expectations, what regulators are looking for when it comes to qualified vendors and thorough audits. This ensures we stay compliant and maintain high standards. Next, we'll define the roles and responsibilities of various teams, QA, procurement, QC, and users, so everyone understands their part in this process. Clear role delineation helps us work efficiently and effectively. We'll also outline a risk-based approach to vendor qualification. This means prioritizing efforts based on the potential impact on product quality and patient safety, allowing us to focus resources where they're needed most. Furthermore, I'll describe how to plan, execute, and follow up on audits. Proper planning sets the stage, execution ensures thoroughness, and follow-up guarantees continuous improvement. Finally, I want to emphasize the importance of data integrity, proper documentation, and ongoing monitoring. These elements are fundamental to maintaining GMP compliance and ensuring that our supply chain remains trustworthy and secure. All of these points tie back to our overall goal, ensuring we work with GMP-compliant suppliers to deliver safe, effective medicines to patients. Let's take a closer look at the scope of vendor qualification. First, in the quality assurance, or QA, area, we define the vendor qualification procedure and establish the standard operating procedure, or SOP, for this process. This helps ensure consistency and thoroughness in how we evaluate vendors. QA also approves vendor assessment and audit reports, which means they review and verify the vendor's compliance and performance before making any final decisions. The ultimate goal here is to decide whether to approve, reject, or give conditional approval to a vendor. Moving on to procurement and purchase, this function kicks off the process by identifying potential vendors and engaging in commercial discussions. It's crucial here that we only place orders with vendors who have been approved through our qualification process, maintaining quality and reliability in our supply chain. In quality control, or QC, their role is to perform material testing and evaluation. They provide essential feedback on material quality trends and handle any complaints related to materials. This continuous monitoring helps us catch issues early and maintain high-quality standards. Finally, the user departments, such as production, engineering, and warehouse, play an integral role. They provide technical input on requirements, ensuring that the materials and vendors meet our specific needs. They also monitor the vendor's day-to-day performance and escalate any issues that arise, helping us stay proactive in managing vendor relationships and quality. Overall, the scope of vendor qualification is a collaborative effort across multiple functions, all working together to ensure we work with the best vendors to meet our quality, safety, and operational standards. Let's begin by looking at the role of quality assurance, or QA. QA is vital in ensuring that our vendors meet our standards. This involves defining a clear vendor qualification procedure, or SOP, which sets the criteria and steps for evaluating potential suppliers. Once a vendor is assessed, we review and approve their assessment and audit reports to ensure they comply with our quality standards. Ultimately, QA makes the final decision, whether to approve, reject, or grant conditional approval, based on these evaluations. Moving on to procurement and purchase, this team kicks off the process by identifying suitable vendors and engaging in commercial discussions. Their goal is to ensure that all orders are placed only with vendors who are approved, maintaining the integrity of our supply chain. Next, we have quality control, or QC. QC takes on the task of performing material testing and evaluations to verify that materials meet our specifications. They also provide valuable feedback on quality trends and any complaints we receive, helping us identify issues early and address them proactively. Finally, the user department, whether it's production, engineering, or warehouse, plays a crucial role. They provide technical input regarding requirements, ensuring that the materials and components meet the operational needs. They also monitor the day-to-day performance of supplies and escalate any issues that might affect the quality or delivery. In summary, these roles and responsibilities are interconnected, forming a comprehensive system that ensures quality at every stage, from vendor qualification to final approval, procurement, quality control, and operational use. This collaborative approach is key to maintaining high standards and supporting our overall objectives. Let's walk through the key steps in our vendor qualification process. First, we start with vendor identification and pre-screening, which helps us narrow down potential vendors early on. Then, we move to the vendor questionnaire and document review, where we gather essential information and verify compliance. Next, we conduct a risk assessment, focusing on both material and vendor risks to identify any potential issues up front. When needed, we perform on-site or remote audits to get a first-hand look at the vendor's operations and controls. After the audit, we evaluate the findings and implement corrective and preventive actions, or CAPAs, to address any gaps. Based on this comprehensive review, we make a decision, either final approval, conditional approval, or rejection. And importantly, our process doesn't end there. We have periodic reevaluations and ongoing performance monitoring to ensure the vendor continues to meet our standards over time. This structured approach helps us mitigate risks and maintain a strong supply chain. When evaluating the criticality of a material or service, it's essential to consider its direct impact on patient safety, such as API and CQAs. These are the factors that can directly influence the safety and efficacy of the final product. Additionally, we look at how the material affects product quality or sterility, especially when it comes to critical excipients or sterile packaging. These elements are vital to maintaining the integrity of the product. Next, we assess vendor risk factors. This includes reviewing their compliance history, regulatory inspection records, and whether they've received any warning letters. These indicators help us gauge their reliability and adherence to regulations. We also consider the complexity of their manufacturing process, as more complex processes can introduce higher risks. The geographical location of the vendor is another important factor, since supply chain vulnerabilities may arise due to regional issues or logistical challenges. Based on this assessment, we categorize the risk levels. For example, high risk for APIs, sterile materials, and critical excipients, medium risk for primary packaging and key intermediates, and low risk for secondary packaging or non-critical consumables. The outcome of this evaluation guides us on how deeply and frequently we should audit the vendor, as well as the level of documentation required. This process aligns with our overall vendor risk management principles, ensuring we maintain quality and safety throughout the supply chain. Now, let's delve into the vendor questionnaire and self-assessment process. First, we look at the quality system overview, which includes reviewing SOPs and the QA structure. This helps us understand how the vendor maintains quality standards consistently. We also check for GMP certifications like WHO GMP or EU GMP, as these are key indicators of compliance with international manufacturing standards. Next, we consider past regulatory inspections and their outcomes, giving us insight into the vendor's track record and compliance history. Data integrity controls are also crucial, specifically adherence to the ALCOA Plus principles, attributes like being attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, accurate, and complete. These ensure the integrity of data throughout the manufacturing process. Moving on to technical and quality document review, we scrutinize certificates of analysis, stability data, and impurity profiles to verify product quality and consistency. If applicable, we also review the DMF or SEP for active pharmaceutical ingredients, ensuring they meet required standards. Additionally, it's important to evaluate change control procedures and how deviations are handled, as these reflect the vendor's ability to manage quality issues proactively. Now, let's talk about trial or pilot batches. The initial lots are evaluated by both QC and production teams to confirm they meet specified criteria. Success here indicates the vendor can deliver consistent performance. Based on this, we qualify the vendor, which involves assessing their ability to produce reliable, high-quality batches over time. Finally, we utilize vendor qualification tools. These are structured methods and checklists that help us systematically evaluate all these aspects, ensuring that each vendor aligns with our quality and compliance expectations. This comprehensive approach helps us build confidence in our vendor partnerships and maintain the integrity of our supply chain. Let's take a closer look at the different types of audits we might encounter. First, there's the initial qualification audit, which is typically done pre-approval to ensure that a supplier or process meets all the necessary standards before we proceed. Then, we have routine or surveillance audits, which are periodic checks to verify ongoing compliance and performance. Lastly, there are for-cause audits, which are triggered by specific issues, complaints, or failures that need immediate investigation. Now, when it comes to audit planning, there are several key elements to keep in mind. First, we need a clear scope and objectives. That means defining exactly which processes or lines are included so everyone knows what to focus on. Next, reviewing previous audit reports, deviations, and complaints is crucial to understand past issues and areas that might need extra attention this time around. Preparation is also vital, so developing an audit agenda and checklist aligned with GMP, QMS, and data integrity standards helps guide the process smoothly. And selecting qualified auditors is a fundamental step. It's important that their training and experience are well documented to ensure they're capable of conducting thorough and effective audits. Finally, planning for vendor audits requires special attention, especially when assessing third-party suppliers. Overall, thorough planning ensures the audit is focused, effective, and aligned with our quality objectives. Let's walk through the key steps of our audit process. First, we start with the opening meeting, where we introduce the team, clarify the scope of the audit, outline the timelines, and emphasize the importance of confidentiality throughout the process. This sets the stage for a collaborative and transparent review. Next, we move on to the facility tour. During this part, we observe the material flow and personnel movement, paying close attention to cleanliness, segregation practices, and utility management. These elements are crucial for maintaining quality and compliance in the operation. Then, we review the system and processes in place. We'll focus on the quality management system, looking at how change controls, CAPA, and deviations are handled. This helps us understand how the organization manages quality and continuous improvement. We also examine production and process controls, including the QC laboratory and how OOS and OOT results are managed. Proper handling of these aspects is vital for ensuring product quality. Data integrity is another key area. We scrutinize computerized systems, access controls, and audit trails to verify that data is accurate, complete, and secure. During documentation review, we assess master documents, batch records, certificates of analysis, training records, calibration, and qualification documents. These records demonstrate compliance and operational integrity. Finally, we hold a closing meeting. Here, we present our observations, clearly classifying them as critical, major, or minor. We also discuss and agree on timelines for CAPA submissions to address any issues identified. The last step is executing the vendor audit itself, which ties all these elements together to ensure the vendor's processes meet our standards and expectations. Let's take a closer look at the audit report. This report is prepared by the lead auditor and includes key observations, a risk assessment, and recommendations for improvement. It's important to note that the report is reviewed and approved by the QA team to ensure accuracy and completeness. Moving on to CAPA management, or corrective and preventive actions, vendors are expected to submit a detailed CAPA that outlines the root cause, specific actions to address the issue, and clear timelines for implementation. The manufacturer then reviews these actions and verifies their effectiveness to ensure the problem has been resolved. Next is vendor status decision, where vendors are categorized as approved, conditionally approved, rejected, or blacklisted based on their performance and compliance. Ongoing performance monitoring is also crucial. It involves tracking incoming material quality trends, such as out-of-specification or out-of-trend results, deviations, and other issues like mix-ups or documentation problems. This helps us identify patterns and areas for improvement. Finally, we have post-audit activities and ongoing monitoring. This includes periodic requalification schedules that are determined based on the risk level and past performance of the vendor. Continuous monitoring ensures that we maintain high standards and address any emerging issues proactively. All these steps are interconnected and essential to maintaining a robust quality management system throughout the vendor lifecycle. Vendor qualification and audits are essential components that are actually driven by regulatory expectations, not just optional procedures. It's important to understand that applying a risk-based approach is key here, and this approach should be aligned with the principles outlined in ICH Q9 and Q10. These guidelines help us prioritize efforts and allocate resources effectively, focusing on areas that pose the greatest risk to product quality and patient safety. Remember, the manufacturer remains responsible for ensuring the quality of the product and safeguarding patient safety throughout the supply chain. That means we can't delegate or overlook these responsibilities. They are central to maintaining trust and compliance. Strong collaboration among QA, QC, procurement, and users is absolutely essential. When these groups work closely together, we improve communication, identify potential issues early, and streamline our processes. This teamwork is vital for building a resilient and reliable supply chain. Finally, continuous monitoring coupled with effective CAPA, corrective and preventive actions, drives the robustness of our supply chain. By constantly reviewing performance and addressing issues promptly, we can ensure a reliable, high-quality supply that ultimately protects patients and supports our overall quality goals. Let's take a moment to look at some of the key regulations and guidelines that underpin our quality management systems. First, we have the EU GMP guidelines, specifically Parts I and II, which emphasize the importance of supplier qualification and managing outsourced activities. These help ensure that any external parties involved meet the necessary quality standards. Moving on, the US FDA's CGMP regulations, outlined in 21 CFR 210 and 211, place a clear responsibility on manufacturers to control their suppliers and contractors. Essentially, even if a task or component is outsourced, the manufacturer remains accountable for the final product quality. Then there's ICH Q7, which is specifically focused on active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs. It highlights the need for thorough supplier qualification and strict change control processes to manage any adjustments or updates to the supply chain. Additionally, ICH Q9 and Q10 cover risk management and the pharmaceutical quality system. These principles reinforce the importance of proactively identifying and mitigating risks throughout the manufacturing process to maintain product integrity. The most critical point to remember from all these guidelines is that, regardless of outsourcing or external supply, the manufacturer retains the ultimate responsibility for product quality. This means we must have robust controls and oversight in place to ensure compliance and safety at every step. Understanding and integrating these principles into our processes helps us uphold the highest standards and meet regulatory expectations effectively. For further support, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you have any questions or need additional assistance, I'm here to help. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I appreciate your engagement and look forward to working with you.